Hey everyone, this is the Cinema Addicts bringing you another issue of the Cinema Update. So stick around to hear some box office results, movie news, and movie trailers. So here we go.
Alright, everybody, it is Box Office Robbie. And I am here with your box office report. So, for the top 5 movies of the weekend, September 25th through the 27th, we have the number 1 film of the weekend, Hotel Transylvania Part 2. The sequel surpassed the first part. This one opened up with 48 million. A lot of people thought it would only open up in the mid-30s. I predicted it would surpass the first one. Went a little further than what I predicted. So number 1 is Hotel Transylvania 2. Number 2 is The Intern, Anne Hathaway, Robert De Niro. This film opened up with 17 million in the second spot. Number 3 is Maze Runner Scorch Trials. It was the number 1 film last weekend, and it dropped to number 3 this weekend with 14 million and as at a total of 51 million. So that puts the sequel running really behind what the first one made. I don't think it's going to get any close to that film's tally. So in the 4th spot we have Everest. It expanded to wide release. It didn't open up as big as a lot of people thought. A lot of people thought with its IMAX release last weekend and limited, it opened up at 7 million. So a lot of people thought that would translate to quite a bit when it expanded to the regular theaters. But it opened in 4th place with 13 million and has a total now of 23. In the 5th spot is Black Mass. It pulled in 11 million this weekend and has a total of 42 million. Green Inferno also opened up this weekend, and like expected, predicted it would open up with a low amount due to, the film just isn't commercially advertised as much as a lot of films are. They didn't really put a lot of money into advertising, and it opened up in a smaller amount of theaters too. So it opened up with 3 million. So moving on now to the top 5 movies of the year. Jurassic World did pass 650 million now, and that's where it currently stands. Number 2 of the year is Avengers Age of Ultron. It is at a total of 458. Inside Out is in 3rd spot with 353 million. Furious 7 is in the 4th spot with 351. And Minions rounds out the top 5 with 333 million. So we will move along now to movie predictions for this coming weekend, which would be the first weekend of October, October 2nd through the 4th. We have basically one new release and one release that was previously in limited amount of theaters and now is expanding to a wide release. So we'll get into the big film of the upcoming weekend, which is The Martian. It's the film directed by Ridley Scott. It's a science fiction film starring Matt Damon. This movie is getting pretty good word of mouth and is heavily advertised. I'm expecting this film to open up pretty big. Um, I'm going to say The Martian opens up with around 45 million. And it could be bigger than that. We'll see. Expanding to wide release this weekend is Sicario, which is the American crime thriller about FBI agent who's enlisted to track down a drug lord at the border between U.S. and Mexico. It stars Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin, a few other actors in it also. I'm expecting this film is actually getting pretty good ratings so far that I've seen on Rotten Tomatoes. I just don't think enough people knows about this film, so I'm going to play it safe with a opening of 10 million. Also in the theaters this weekend in limited release is The Walk. It gets its wide release basically next weekend, October 9th. But if you happen to have this in your theater nearby you, you can see it this weekend. It's in limited release, like I previously stated. It is directed by Robert Zemeckis. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the star. He's playing the French high wire artist who walked between the Twin Towers in the 70s. I believe it was 1974. So this film is opening in limited release, so it'll probably pull in a good amount of money for the theaters that it's in, but it still won't be enough to really probably make the top 10. My guess is it'll be like one of those 700,000-800,000, but per theater average will be pretty impressive. So that is the box office report this week. Tune in next week and we'll have more results and more predictions.
All right, everyone, that was Box Office Robbie with the box office report. Next up is the movie news. Like every week, we have a lot of news to go through, so let's get this party started.
Channel 4 News with 5-time Emmy Award-winning anchor Ron Burgundy. Champ Kine Sports. Rick Tamlin Weather. And your reporter in the field, Brian Fantana.
It's Channel 4 News at 6 o'clock.
All right, so first up, we have some news on the upcoming Gambit movie. Gambit is a superhero in the X-Men universe. I would like to say the Marvel universe, but they don't own the right to say that. So, looks like Rupert Wyatt was originally slated to be the director, and he's only been the director for this for about 3 months or so, and he's already left. There has been a lot of issues, scheduling conflicts, and all that kind of good stuff. The reasons coming out is that he left due to Fox questioning if he was committed to the project or not. When interviewed by the director, he actually said that he couldn't get the studio to be convinced to embrace his vision of what the film should be, so he flew the nest. Looks like he's not the only person that they've had trouble trying to get to direct or do anything with this film. Chan Tams has gone to multiple directors trying to figure out who is willing to be a part of this project. Some of the people he's been to is Bennett Miller, Darren Aronofsky, Gareth Evans, and J.C. Chandler. All have been approached, all have turned this down. Now, out of all of those, I'd be really excited to see Gareth Evans be the director because he's the guy who did the raids. And you'd have to know there's going to be some pretty awesome fight scenes, but I guess he didn't want to do it. Also, coming up, we have a sequel to The Ring. This is going to be the third movie in the series, and looks like it has been pushed back to 2016. Looks like it's going to be opening up in like the first quarter of the year. You know, I personally think that if you're going to have a horror movie, have it come out during October. You know, October is the horror month. Why have a movie come out in January or February? No one's going to want to go see it. October, everyone's going to be pumped, ready to go, wanting to see some scary freaking movies. But whatever. You know, not everyone, I guess, gets that, especially filmmakers. But if you haven't heard, this sequel is going to be taking place 13 years after the first movie. And it's going to be about some couple that watch a movie, and guess what? Someone dies in 7 days. It's going to be the same thing. I don't know. Looks like the kid from the original one, that little creepy little SOB, looks like he might be returning as an adult. So it'd be kind of interesting to see what all goes on with that, because he's a creepy kid. Going to be a creepy ass adult, I can tell you that. In other news, it looks like Marvel has already have their plans already set out in case they get back the rights of X-Men and Fantastic Four. Because why not? You know, they're the MCU. Eventually they want every one of their characters back in their grips. But I know at least for X-Men, that's going to be a long, long time out. So hopefully maybe sometime soon they can strike a deal like they did with Spider-Man. Hopefully. But there's been rumors that the Fantastic Four rights might go back to Marvel, just because that every single time they try to make a new movie, it fails very badly. They've had 3 movies so far, and each one were worse than the other. How can that be? I don't know. Maybe the Fantastic Four are just not fantastic. It's kind of boring, you know? I can stretch. I can turn to fire. I'm invisible, and I'm a thing. You know, I don't understand why they just can't make the story right. I know I haven't personally read any of the Fantastic Four comic books. You know, surprise, but there's a better story out there for people that can do all those things. That's beyond me. But in other Marvel news, looks like there was supposed to be a different ending to the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, the sequel to the first Avengers. Looks like Captain Marvel was originally supposed to appear at the very end of the movie. There's a scene where Captain America comes out and there's a bunch of people standing in like this room. They're the new Avengers. And it was supposed to have Captain Marvel there. But Joss Whedon thought, you know, this would be kind of weird if we introduced her right now, because we haven't introduced her yet. You know, there's going to be all these people, we already know who they are, and then we're going to have some woman that we never seen before. So I thought that was probably a very solid idea not to include her. That's just me. But it looks like there hasn't even been anyone casted yet for this role. The person that is the top candidate is Rebecca Ferguson. I guess she's been in the new Mission Impossible. So I hadn't seen that yet. I really want to see it. So maybe she's a good fit. I don't know yet. We'll find out. Other Marvel news. There's a lot of Marvel news out today. Civil War will end the Captain America trilogy. Looks like Kevin Feige, the guy that runs everything, has confirmed that the trilogy will end after Civil War, as I previously said. Some questions kind of come up. You know, will Captain America be killed? Because in the comic books, he does die. Spoilers. I know it doesn't really help to say spoilers after I already said something, but hey. But the problem is that Evan still has a contract that will extend at least into the first Infinity War movie, so I don't know how that's going to work. My guesses is that he's going to be coming back as like a memory or a ghost of some sorts. Maybe Scarlet Witch will kind of make one of the other team members remember him or something. That's the only thing I can think of. there's also been questions going around is, who's going to pick up the shield after Cap's death? Some people are thinking it might be Falcon, or it might be his buddy Bucky, the Winter Soldier. I'd be fine with either or. I kind of think maybe I would lean more towards the Winter Soldier as being Captain America's replacement, just for the fact that he has that increased strength. He's the only one that's been able to really go toe-to-toe with Captain America. Falcon, the only thing special about him is he has a jetpack that has wings that he flies around on. That's really it. No superhuman strength, nothing. Now, they could do one of the experiments on him, but the person who made that is dead. So, I don't know if they're going to send him back in time, give him some go-go juice. Don't know. Looks like Batman vs. Superman is going to be rated PG-13 for intense violence and sensuality. Sensuality. That poses quite a bit of questions. What is going to be sensual about this film? This action movie? One of the guesses out there is that there's going to be some sort of romance going on. Because that's all we need in a freaking superhero movie is romance. I come here to see the fights and the storyline, but no, I'm seeing someone fall in love and dance and kiss on each other. I'm sorry, but it's not date night. It is time to go see some people beat the crap out of each other. I don't care. Really. So, with looking at the guidelines for what considers sensuality, this could be anything between a kiss, a hug, a dance, or a sex scene. Who might have sex in this movie? Could it be Clark Kent and Lois Lane? Superman and his little girlfriend. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see her die with his super speed sperm, because I'm sure when he goes off, it's going to shoot right through her because he's close to the sun and he goes fast. So, I don't think that's going to be it. Now, there was a dance scene between Wonder Woman and Batman. That would be weird. But hey, if you guys are into that kind of stuff, I know there's some parodies out there for you guys. Look at that. Don't need that in Batman vs. Superman. That's my opinion. I don't know about my co-hosts. They might be like, yeah, maybe I want to see some of that, yeah. Maybe it'll be Superman Batman, because I know Brian will definitely be up for Batman vs. Superman into the sheets. Yep. Because that's how he rolls. Any questions about that? Email him. So, coming up next, looks like Sean Astin has came out and had little things to say about the Goonies, the sequel. Looks like he may not be sure if he's going to be involved with this picture or not, but he knows 100% down in his depths that it is going to happen eventually. He once said back when the original was being made, or it may have been like 1988. I'm pretty sure it was in 1988 where I read an article said that Steven Spielberg even approached him and said, this is going to happen. So, Spielberg wants it to happen. Astin wants it to happen. Everyone wants it to happen besides the guy who played Chunk, which we've talked about in a earlier on episode. In other news, looks like Pacific Rim 2 has officially been delayed back to 2017. I know it has an original release date earlier in 2017, but it looks like it's going to be pushed back even further. And Pitch Perfect 3 has taken its spot, because that's another movie we need to see. The first one was good. I'll give you that. Second one was I don't know what they're going to do for a third one. I don't need to see it. But I do want to see a new Pacific Rim. I really enjoyed the first one. I know it has a lot of mixed reviews. Not everyone was for it, but it had everything. It had Charlie Day. He's hilarious. I will watch anything this guy's in. Had Guillermo del Toro. Brilliant director. Love everything he's doing. Crimson Peak. I'm very excited to go see it. And also had Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy. Can't go wrong with those three people. The first one had Idris Elba in it, but I can't remember if he lives or dies. I should have looked that up first before I started talking. But I don't see what could go wrong with the next one. So, speaking of sequels, Prometheus sequel has gotten a name, finally. Looks like it will not be Prometheus 2. Instead, it will be Alien, Paradise Lost. Now, that is a weird title. We know as a part of the Alien franchise, you don't need to put Alien, then put Paradise Lost. Just call it Paradise Lost. We know it's part of the Alien franchise. We don't need to be reminded of that. It's just like the Hunger Games, Catching Fire. It should have just been Catching Fire. We know this is part of the Hunger Games. But maybe it'll change. I'm not the one in control of this. I know a lot of people are disappointed with it, so maybe the studio will listen and change its name. Like I said, Paradise Lost would be perfect. So there's been reports saying that the movie will connect to the original character Ripley and the Xenomorphs. So my question is at the end, will you see Ripley, or will you see her going on this ship in the first one? You know, will that ship that they walk into on the original Alien be the ship that maybe that Elizabeth Shaw gets into? There's a lot of questions on how this is going to be connected to Ripley. Now, it's very easy to know how this is going to be done with the Xenomorphs, because you saw like a little baby alien that was close to the Xenomorph, but not quite there in the first Prometheus. So, knowing that, that's going to be pretty cool. Also, they are planning on doing multiple sequels, so that's going to be very interesting as well. I really like the first one, and again, I know this is another movie where people weren't really too sure about, but, you know, you got Michael Fassbender in it. He's great. I don't think I've really seen a movie that I did not like with him in it. He always does an amazing job. You know, Sir Ian McKellen is great as Magneto, and he does a perfect job living up to his level. He's not quite there, but, you know, he's a damn good second. But we're not talking about X-Men. We're talking about Prometheus in the alien world. So, looks like Elizabeth Shaw and her little android buddy will be seeking out the home world of the engineers in order to unlock the secrets about humanity's creation. So it looks like they kind of have the same plot as the first one, but they're going to finally go to the homeworld of the engineers. My question is are they still going to be around, or will they have died? That's going to be a very big question. I'm thinking maybe that she's going to get there and that they've been killed by their own creations. So that's going to be very interesting. Also, the sequel will have a new alien that's going to be different from the baby alien that has been in the previous one. So that's going to be very interesting. Also, Fast and Furious 8 is going to be part of a final trilogy. So when I first read this, I was like, oh crap, are they making a new trilogy? Because they're on their eighth, they're going to be on their 8th movie. I love Fast and Furious, but, you know, there's beating a dead horse with a stick, you know. What more can you do to it? I don't know. But luckily I remembered that the Fast 7 or Furious 7 was the first of, you know, a new trilogy. So this is going to be the second movie, and then looks like Fast and Furious or Furious 9 or whatever is going to be the last movie. I think this should probably be the start of a new trilogy, because I think they should end on 10. Why end on 9? You guys already made 1 million movies. Why not just make it even? But it looks like they're finding trouble getting a director for this movie. I guess there's been reports that Vin Diesel is very hard to work with, which I can understand. He's very attached to this. His buddy died and whatnot, so I can understand why he wants to make this perfect, make it in his memory and stuff. You know, I guess he may direct one of the last movies himself. I can't imagine how that's going to work, because he doesn't talk very audibly sometimes. Because I can just imagine They're like, all right, Vin Diesel, what do we need next? You gotta do, you know. Sorry, I was trying to do the best mumble that I could do. Yeah, whatever. So, let's think. What could be some Fast and Furious 8 titles? I'm going to come up with some on the fly here. They could do Fast 8. I don't know. Furious 8. Too Fast, 8 Furious. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Fast and Furious 8 in space. Because, I mean, come on, they're going to go to space one of these movies. Next up, we have Hugh Jackman, or according to Brian, our co-host, Huge Jackman. Looks like Huge Jackman wants to have Tom Hardy play Wolverine next. That's his top pick. But, my thing is, I like Tom Hardy and everything, but he can't do everything. Everyone wants him to be in all the movies. They want him to play the next James Bond. They want him to be the new Wolverine. The guy's a good actor. He can only do so many things. He's tied up in Mad Max right now. Let him finish out that trilogy, and then he can move on to something else. Just saying. Come on, guys. And I got 2 more things for you guys. One is a good thing, and one's a sad thing. I'll start off with a good thing before I break your guys' hearts. Okay. So earlier today, I read that Daniel Craig will return as James Bond in the next movie. So Spectre is not going to be his last film. There's been reports that it was going to be his last film, but he has stated that he's under contract to do one more movie. So we don't have to worry. We don't have to do any more planning until another 5 years from now. So hooray! All right, guys. I don't know how I'm going to break this to you. This is such sad news. Helen Mirren has retired from doing nude scenes. I know, it's breaking your guys' hearts. The 70-year-old actress will not be doing any more nude scenes from here on out. She has been quoted saying, "The good thing about getting older, you don't have to do that sort of thing anymore. My pleasure pillows are purely for my husband." So there you guys have it. No more nude scenes from the great Helen Mirren. You'll be missed. Just to point out, last couple times she did go topless was for the Calendar Girls movie back in 2003 at the age of 58. And then she went completely naked for the New York Magazine in 2011 at the age of 66. Sad news. But come on, guys. She's an old lady. Who wants to see that? Seriously. Come on, guys. I don't want to go out there and see some 7-year-old boobies. Guys are perverts. So, and speaking of perverts, here is Brian with his movie trailers.
Okay, so this is Brian with your movie trailers here. I have 5 movies to review their trailers this week. So first up is the movie Ride Along 2, which stars Ice Cube and Kevin Hart. So I haven't watched the first one yet. I know Robbie has. I'm not sure if Zach has. He might have. I hear that the movie it's pretty good. It's funny. I did watch this trailer here of Ride Along 2. It looked really funny. I need to get around watching the first one. In this trailer here, they look like they're getting sent off to Miami to bust. It might be another drug crime mob type people. It's a bunch of bad guys again. Same old, same old. What I liked about it, because it gave me a feel Bad Boys movie with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence in it. I get this same type of feeling with Ice Cube and Kevin Hart. Like, this is another newer, today's time Bad Boys movie. So there's some really good funny scenes I've seen in the trailer where Kevin Hart's wearing a vest and he jumps in front of Ice Cube to take shots from another bad guy shooting at Ice Cube. And Ice Cube pulls him back up again, and the guy shoots again and shoots him in the back this time with the bulletproof vest. So there's some good funny moments I'm seeing in this movie. So definitely keep an eye on this movie. If you've seen the first one, you like it. This one here looks like it might be good too. So second trailer here, I have the movie called Truth, and stars Robert Redford. It looks like this movie's based on the true stories. Back when George Bush became president in the election, I guess this news company found out that George Bush went AWOL when he was in National Guard, when he was in the Army. So they went to go release this over live news, and Robert Redford is this anchor man who tells it over live TV that George Bush went AWOL and everything. So once they did that, this whole big scandal went on where they kind of came after him because it looks like they figured out that this was a false document. This wasn't supposedly true. So I remember hearing about this a while back when the election was going on about with George Bush and them and stuff, and him trying to become president. I heard about it, but I didn't really know like much about it. I didn't dive into it and really paid much attention to it. Definitely didn't know that a lot more stuff was going on behind the scenes, because I guess that anchor man and I don't know if was the supervisor, producer of the show, they both took a lot of heat from this, from government-wise and such, and I guess it kind of ruined their careers and everything, because I guess the document came out being false that George Bush never went AWOL in National Guard. So the movie looks really good, and it's based off the true life story. So I'll definitely keep an eye on this movie. It looks like it could probably be interesting. Next up is the movie The Angry Birds. So this movie here is based off of the big time app game of Angry Birds. This first trailer that I watched, it looked pretty funny. It really didn't give you a whole lot of what the storyline is. I mean, they give you kind of like what basically the storyline is the same as the game. Eventually they show the pigs show up to their island where they're at, all the birds are at. And so I don't know if they're gonna just come there and they're gonna try to take over their home at that island, and they'll probably, get into a big old scuffle about it and fight over that island. But it's got a lot of big names voicing all the birds in it and stuff, so it might be a good kids movie. There was a few little funny moments I seen in it, but those type of movies are, it is what it is. Okay, so next up, I have the movie The Big Short. So this movie is probably going to be up for some Oscar nominations here. You got 4 big names in it: Christian Bale, Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling, and Steve Carell. So this movie here is about, and this here I guess is based off a true story too, what happened back in the mid-2000s. Basically, the 4 of them kind of predict the whole credit and housing market collapsing and stuff. So they kind of go up against the banks who are responsible for the whole house marketing crash, of their greed with money and such. So they kind of go against them and outbid them and bet them, and they make a whole bunch of money or something. It looks really good. I see some really good acting going on again, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a big Oscar type movie. Maybe Best Supporting Actor, maybe Best Actor period. They could be up for some nominees here, but it looked really good. Definitely keep an eye on this movie. It looks like it might, be a good acting type, good story movie. The last movie here I have is called Heist. It stars Robert De Niro, Dave Bautista, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. This movie looks really, really good. Basically, it's about Jeffrey Dean Morgan goes to Robert De Niro, who owns a big casino, makes a lot of money. He goes to Robert Dean De Niro to ask him for money for his daughter's medical expenses. I'm not sure what his daughter's having. It doesn't tell you in the movie. Just he goes to Robert De Niro to ask him for money, and Robert De Niro turns him down and says no, and they throw him out the room and everything. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan teams up with the coworker that works in the casino, which is Dave Bautista, to help him hijack and rob the casino. So they rob the casino. They get a group of men with them. They rob the casino and take $3 million. And the plan goes bad, and they get shot at. They escape. Their man that was driving behind the wheel, the getaway car, drives off without them because he sees him come out shooting. So they all run on foot. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Dave Bautista, and his other buddies help them rob the place. They eventually, in the trailer, shows them getting onto an RTA bus or something, and the whole movie looks like a lot of it's taking place that they're on that bus. Robert De Niro and all of his buddies, and I see SWAT team cops coming after him, chasing them on the highway, on the roads, trying to get them to stop and everything. They're having a big shootout, a bunch of actions going on the bus. They're shooting at each other and everything. So this movie looks really good. It kind of gave me that Speed, the movie Speed type feeling with Keanu Reeves in it. So it looks really good. Definitely, I'm gonna keep an eye on this movie. It's like I said, it's got a lot of big names in it, so it should be good. That is it for me for the movies of the week. See you later.
Next up is some movie reviews. So first up, we will start off with Robbie.
Maybe you should wear these extra gloves. My hands are starting to get sweaty.
Extra gloves? You've had this pair of extra gloves this whole time?
Yeah, we're in the Rockies.
I'm going to kill you.
What?
I'm gonna kill you!
All right, it's Robbie here. Thought I'd add a little comedy part there to the movie reviews. So this week here, I got around to watching quite a few films as usual. I actually watched a total of 5, and we will get into them right now. So first up, I checked out the sequel / reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, of Vacation. Take away the National Lampoons this time. It's just Vacation only. So this time around, it has Ed Helms in it and Christina Applegate. Ed Helms is basically playing the role of Rusty Griswold, now all grown up, now has his own family, wife and 2 kids. And he decides to take his family on a road trip to see Wally World, just like his dad did in the original Vacation. The film, for the most part, follows a little similar to the original Vacation, but they just try to outdo the original Vacation by being like more outrageous and more vulgar language, and just the comedy scenes where crazy things happen to them. They try to up the antics of what the original one does, but the comedy just doesn't come across and deliver like the original one did, not even close. And the original one stopped off and kind of saw Cousin Eddie and the family. This time around, they kind of stop off for a few minutes to see Clark and Helen, which is his mom and dad. So you have a little scene where Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo are in the movie for a few minutes. The movie has a couple parts where it plays that Holiday Roads theme song from the first one, which is always great. When you hear it in the movie, it makes you go, oh, kind of reminisce about the original film. So those couple moments there are kind of special, just because It really makes you feel like you're watching the old film, especially the opening scene of the new Vacation. But besides that, the comedy just does not deliver like the original film, and Ed Helms, who does a decent job playing Rusty, just doesn't deliver comedy like Chevy Chase did back in his prime. So after figuring up all my deductions, I give the final tally of this film 6 stars. I just wasn't overall impressed. It's an okay film, and I guess it's a little bit worth checking out just if you're a big fan of the original Vacation, but after you watch it, you'll be like, just put the original one back in. Or the Christmas Vacation, which I'm a big fan of too. So then I checked out the film Cake with Jennifer Aniston. Sam Worthington's in it, Anna Kendrick. This film is kind of tricky for me because I thought Jennifer Aniston did an amazing job in this, and I'm really surprised she didn't get any Academy nominations at last year's Oscars. But the overall film for me, it's just one of those films that you can watch once, and it's like a powerful film, but it's just kind of a boring film, and this film really hurts in the entertainment and rewatchability categories. So that's probably my biggest problem with it. The film just kind of drags a little bit, but at the same time, Jennifer Aniston does put on a pretty good performance in it. I just don't think it's enough to save the film overall. So I do think she should have got a Best Actress nomination, but definitely wouldn't have put the film in the Best Picture category. So my final rating for the Cake film is 6.75 stars. Real quickly before I move on, I also thought it was kind of interesting to point out, and when you watch the movie Cake, you'll eventually understand why they call the film Cake. I just still think it's retarded. I don't know why they thought, okay, we'll name this movie Cake. But when you watch it, you'll understand why they called it Cake. But it's just like, okay, you could easily thought of something more clever. But moving on, we will get to another sequel I watched, which is the Magic Mike sequel. I wasn't too thrilled about seeing this movie, but I did see the first one with my wife, so I thought I would check the second one out too. This time around, most of the gang is back. Matthew McConaughey did not come back for this second film, and the actor that played the new kid in the first part did not come back either. But everybody else did. This time around, Channing Tatum's character, Magic Mike, he hasn't really been in the stripping world last 3 years, I believe, what the story says. And he's kind of moved on now and started his own little moving furniture company. But he ends up kind of running back into his old gang, and they're kind of on their way down to the stripper convention in Myrtle Beach. So he kind of tags along, and they all kind of plan on going down there to this convention for one final bang before they kind of call it quits, I guess you would say. So they're wanting to kind of go all out down here. But the film really hurts this time around badly in story and acting. And then you take Matthew McConaughey out of it. He kind of helped the first part quite a bit. This time they throw in Jada Pinkett Smith. I think Andy McDowell's in it, Elizabeth Banks. The story just this time around is horrible, and it hurt the overall film. And there's really only 2 good dancing scenes for women, which is, of course, is their main reason, why they're into the film. But besides those 2 scenes, though, there's just not really much else to the film. I really found the film to be horrible, and I would definitely not be able to ever watch it again. My final rating for Magic Mike XXL is 4.5 stars out of 10. I definitely don't recommend it. Unless you're a woman and you want to see Channing Tatum half naked. Or maybe 3/4 naked. So next up, I watched a film that I was really excited to see, which is the new Mission Impossible film, Rogue Nation. So Tom Cruise is back at it as Ethan Hunt. This time he's kind of on the run from the CIA. The CIA kind of disbanded the IMF, and he's basically out to kind of prove that this group called the Syndicate. Syndicate. He's basically out to prove that they really do exist and to kind of clear his name. So it's kind of similar to, I believe, the first Mission Impossible was kind of that same little storyline a little bit. But at the same time, this one here felt still fresh and a very entertaining Mission Impossible film. You got Jeremy Renner back in it, Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames. This time around, Alec Baldwin joins the cast. He's like the CIA director in it. And then this actress named Rebecca Ferguson, she's in it, and I thought she was great in it and is one of the standout bright spots of the film for me. I think my only complaint about this new Mission Impossible is the villain in it this time around isn't really memorable and really nothing great. I also feel like the previous Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol was a little bit better than this film. But still, this is the 5th film in the series. So, the fact that it was as good as I'm about to say it is pretty good for a film that's now starting to get quite a few entries in its series, considering this is the 5th Mission Impossible. My final rating for this film is 7.75 stars. I believe I gave Ghost Protocol like an 8.25 when it came out. So it's not as good as Ghost Protocol, but it's still a very good, entertaining Mission Impossible film. You should definitely check it out. The final movie I saw this week, and I got to watch it with a lot of the family, is Hotel Transylvania Part 2. It's the animated sequel about Dracula and all the monsters staying at his hotel. So the Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Selena Gomez, Andy Samberg, David Spade, the whole cast is back. This time around, Mel Brooks joins the cast as Dracula's dad, the Lad, and he's kind of like the... he shows up, I want to say maybe a little bit past halfway in the film. This film here is mostly about his daughter that met the human in Part 1. They're now married, and they now have a kid. The film, I think, fast forwards about 7 years after Part 1. So they now have a kind of a small kid, and Dracula's kind of worried that the kid is going to be more human than he's going to be vampire. So he's like trying to teach him all the ways of being a vampire in hopes that he will grow into his fangs and grow into being a vampire and turn into a bat and fly and those kinds of things. So, excuse me. For the most part, that's what Hotel Transylvania 2 is about. And his daughter is now like wanting to move back to California and kind of raise him there. So Dracula doesn't want them to move away. So he's desperately trying to get his grandson to be a vampire so they can stay there and live at the hotel. So that's pretty much what Hotel Transylvania Part 2 is about. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty much as solid as the first film was, and just as good. I know I heard a lot of people say they thought it was slightly better. And I believe if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, in its little description, they even say themselves that they think the film is a little bit better than the original. I thought it was pretty much on par with the original. I don't know if I could say it's better. I would say maybe a little bit better storyline, maybe. But overall, I thought it was probably equal to what the first one was. My final rating for Hotel Transylvania Part 2 is 7.5 stars. So those are my film reviews this week. Tune in to next week, and we will have more movie reviews. This is Box Office Robbie. I'm out.
Okay, so I have one movie review for this week. And this is the same movie Robbie's seen too, because we've seen it together with our families. And that is Hotel Transylvania Part 2. So in this sequel here, it's basically about Dracula, which is voiced by Adam Sandler, his daughter gets married and has a kid with her now husband that she met in the first part. So Count Dracula is trying to get his new little grandson to become a vampire. He's at that age where he should have his fangs and all that, but he doesn't. So Dracula and his buddies, the Mummy and the Werewolf and Frankenstein, they all try to eventually take his grandson out and get him to become turn into a vampire. So that's basically what the movie's about, is them kind of going back and forth. And then his daughter wants to take her kid, Dracula's grandson, and they want to move out of the castle and move to human world, be around nothing but humans. She thinks he'll grow up and be better there. So, and Count Dracula doesn't want them to go. He wants them to stay at the castle. So, movie's really funny. It's got some good scenes in it. The storyline is a little bit better in this one than the first one, I think. There's just a lot more going on in this one here. And the comedy's close, because I thought the first one had some really good funny moments too in it. But I'd say the comedy might be a little bit more too in part two. So overall, I think part two is just a little bit more better than part one. I think I got part one about probably a 7.5. And then I got this part two probably sitting at a 7.75 or maybe an 8. I really like this sequel a lot. So if you've seen the first one and you liked it and kids like it and stuff, this is another good family movie, especially since this is around Halloween time. This is a good Halloween movie to watch. This is definitely, with part one, these are definitely two movies that I could add to my list of every October comes to watch these movies to get me into the Halloween spirit. So if you haven't seen it, and especially if you have kids, I definitely recommend you guys go see this at the drive-ins or theaters. Me and Robbie took our family to the drive-ins and seen this movie, and it was pretty fun. The kids loved it; they laughed. So that is the only movie I watched this week. So see you later.
All right, everyone. That was Brian and Robbie with their movie reviews. This week, I actually did get to see a couple movies myself. I would do 4 reviews, but one of them I fell asleep during. So I might watch that movie again, just so I can give like an accurate review. But if anything, Robbie's going to give the same review of this movie next week, because he also watched it at a different place. Not sleeping at the same place, so hey. So I actually have 3 movies. I finally got to go see Straight Outta Compton. I felt that this was a pretty good movie. I felt the story was really good. Finally got to kind of hear more about Ice Cube's past and NWA and everything, because I didn't grow up listening to all that. So it's kind of interesting to just see how, all these kids from, the projects of, Compton grew up to be, these powerful business people. And it's just really interesting to see the transition from being poor to rich. And it's, kind of cool that someone, or not someone, but, several people were able to give them this chance to, better themselves. Even though there was a lot of fighting and everything with that going on. But I feel like the acting was pretty good. I feel like this is more of like an ensemble cast. You got the guy that plays Ice Cube, Eazy-E, and Dr. Dre. I feel like those 3 were the main actors. Now, I had to take off a little bit because I thought Dr. Dre, he did good, but he just does not remind me at all of Dr. Dre, really. So I would have gave this like a 0 off, but I can't do that just because of that. I thought the guy playing Eazy-E did a great job, and I forgot I was watching Ice Cube's son while watching this. I thought I was watching Ice Cube. I was like, well, Ice Cube just got a little lighter, I guess. But just if you're a fan of Ice Cube at all, watch this movie, because his son does him justice. I feel he did a great job portraying his father in this movie. Now, the supporting actor was played by Paul Giamatti. I felt like this is kind of like a wishy-washy, like kind of whatever part for him. He didn't do anything extraordinary. He's just playing some weasel record producer, not producer, agent. So I couldn't really give him like a really great, score for this because of the fact that, he's just average. With this, I thought the score was a lot better than other movies because this actually had music from the actual group. And I'm pretty sure that the actual people in the movie did all of the rapping and singing whatever for the parts, and it seemed very spot on to me. Now with the special effects or whatever, I had to take a little bit more off just for the fact that there wasn't too much besides them actually sounding like the people. So, entertaining. It's very entertaining, but it's not the most entertaining. It is a little bit of a longer movie, like Robbie had said before. But it's definitely, like I said, worth a watch, and I will probably rewatch this movie again maybe next year. So, at the end of the day, I gave Straight Outta Compton a straight 7.75. I feel like that's a pretty good, accurate number for that. Hopefully, maybe there will be some Oscar buzz, at least for O'Shea Jackson Jr., the guy who plays Ice Cube. I just feel that he got that spot on, and I feel like he needs to be recognized for it. But moving on, I also saw Black Mass, which is the story of Whitey Bulger. They say different things in the movie depending on what newscast you're listening to. But this is a story about a crime boss in Boston who becomes an FBI informant to kind of get rid of the competition. So he rises to power pretty quickly, and it does a good job showing his life outside of that also. Spoiler alert, he has a son in this movie, and he gets killed with taking too much aspirin, gets Ray's syndrome. So that kind of makes him like lose his mind a little bit, and then his mom died, and these people are Irish Catholics, so they are very tight-knit with their family. So with his mom dying and his son dying, he just didn't give an F. Like, he just didn't care. He's going to do what he wants, when he wants, and he doesn't care who gets in his way. So this movie does a good job telling a story. Most of it is basically making it seem like the story's going along with different people ratting on him. It shows his little group older, like 10, 20 years older than what they are in like the actual storyline, talking to an FBI agent because they're trying to get a lot of dirt on him. That way they can finally arrest him. Since he was an FBI informant, he got to slide under the radar for so many years. And with the help of one of his friends growing up who actually became an FBI agent, which was played by Joel Egerton. So I thought that was pretty cool how they used that as a plot device. Them telling stories that they were a part of while Johnny Depp's character, Whitey Bulger, was doing his thing. I feel like the supporting cast also did a really good job in this, especially Jesse Plemons. I feel like he's really starting to get into his own skin when it's acting. I feel every time I see him, he's getting better and better and better. And this he was pretty good in. And if you don't know who he is, he's played Landry on Friday Night Lights, and he also played Creepy Todd in Breaking Bad, which is probably his best well-known role because he did a great job being this little creep guy. But I thought he did a really good job. Now, the other guys, I'm not really sure what their names are, but I feel like they did great. Joel Egerton did really good. Kevin Bacon did good. There's a lot of people in this movie. Now, the score is kind of like this so I can't really talk too much about that. Special effects with this, I thought were really good. I thought they did really good prosthetics for Johnny Depp to make him look like the actual guy. And he's just kind of creepy with it. Didn't look like it was normal, but after a while, when you watch this film, it kind of just goes away. So, entertainment-wise, this movie was about average. It it's a little bit longer movie, and it's a drama biopic, so of course it's it's going to go a little bit slow at parts, but for the most part, it is very good. It's very rewatchable. I'm going to rewatch this movie again and again because I felt like it was really good. I also gave this movie a 7.75. I wish it would have been a little bit higher, but when I crunched the numbers, that's just what it came out to. The last movie, I also saw Rogue Nation, Mission Impossible. I felt that the story was kind of average. It kind of wasn't anything new. It seems like the same plot every single movie for the most part, just different action scenes and whatever. Tom Cruise was, doing his average acting, didn't do anything special. I felt like he maybe kind of took like a step back with his acting in this movie. With supporting acting, I thought it was about average too. If anything, it would be slightly more than Tom Cruise with his little computer buddy in this movie. I thought he did a really good job. Simon Pegg. The score, it doesn't get anything off because it's a classic. I could, sit there and hum it right now. It's a classic Mission Impossible sound, so you can't really take anything off of that because it's very memorable. I know this any time of day. Now, special effects, you can't take anything off of this movie. This movie has some crazy stuff going on. One of the things was in the opening scene where they're trying to get this package off of this plane. So Tom Cruise just like, I'm screwed. I'm going to run and jump on the plane, and that's where you see him hanging outside the plane, which they shot several times. I guess it took like 10 days to actually shoot this scene. Another one where he jumps into this cyclone thing, has to hold his breath for over 3 minutes. I thought that was pretty cool. And afterwards, there's this really, really cool motorcycle race scene, and it's just, I don't know, it's pretty cool. Entertainment wise, most of it is very entertaining. There are some slow parts, like Robbie said. The main villain, he's kind of like whatever. Rewatchability, I couldn't take anything off for this because, like all the other Mission Impossible movies, besides the second one, I'm probably gonna watch this movie over and over again. Like Ghost Nation, Ghost Protocol. See, I merged both movies to make one good movie. Ghost Protocol, I've seen that movie lots and lots of times, and I also agree with Robbie that I felt like Ghost Protocol or Ghost Nation was a lot better, but I don't know, maybe not a lot better, but slightly better. So at the end of the day, I gave Rogue Nation an 8.25. You might ask, why is that higher than Black Mask or Straight Outta Compton? Well, it helps that it's an action movie, for one. Also, there's different categories. When I rate my stuff, I kind of compare it to other things in this category. So, like Black Mask, I'm kind of comparing that to other biopics. Like Johnny Depp's movie Blow, I felt, that's a little bit of a better movie. So, I'm comparing to others in the genre. That's where I get my scoring from, but, who cares? But that is it for me, and that is it for us. So, peace out, gentlemen and ladies.